I'm Laurie Blake. Welcome to the WrestleTalk News. On Fridays, we wear pink. And our top story today involves some creative plans for the Bloodline leaking. And you're right, it's another bust-up, but this time with two Usos. So it was recently announced that Roman Reigns will be appearing at Money in the Bank in London on July the 1st, as well as on the preceding SmackDown on June 30th, which means there's got to be something for him to do on those shows. It's desperately needed. Well, one plan being floated, according to WRKD Wrestling on Twitter, could see a tag match between Big Uce and Angry Uce versus Uce 1 and Uce 2. Juicy. They said while plans are still taking shape, one idea discussed for Money in the Bank in London is Roman/Solo versus the Usos, freeing up Roman for a title defense at SummerSlam, where he has to lose the belt now. There was no indication given whether this will be for the undisputed tag team titles or not, though it is a very real possibility that it could be, because Solo and Roman are set to challenge Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn at Night of Champions in just over a week's time. Either way, you've got to expect a seismic shift in the Bloodline saga at that show if this tag match for Money in the Bank truly is going to be set up. In other Night of Champions news, Better Wrestling Experience are claiming I've put clanging there, are claiming that WWE were pushing the idea of a triple main event for the show, and noted that Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles for the World Heavyweight Championship has been locked down as the final match of the night. So, the main event, not the main event. Anyway, our top story. See, it's confusing when you call something that isn't the thing. Our other top story is controversy around Roman Reigns at a house show because WWE have been forced to offer refunds to fans after incorrectly advertising Roman Reigns for a house show in Fayetteville. The company issued the following statement. Incorrect promotional material was released that advertised Roman Reigns in Fayetteville this Saturday, May the 20th. Roman Reigns will not be in Fayetteville. Oh well, whoopsie poopsie. Before we crack on with the rest of the news, it is just time for a word from our sponsors.
Do you ever find yourself ripping your shirts in two because of uncontrollable rage? Ah! It's a serious problem. Turbo Jack don't remember anything when it happens. Well, you need True Classic Apparel, the premium men's brand for everyday essentials. T-shirts, long sleeves, hoodies, activewear, and underwear. I made his wrestler Turbo Jack, and I no longer have to pick between style and price, because True Classic has tagless, buttery soft, and super durable built-to-last premium fabrics designed for maximum comfort. I can't rip it! With customizable body proportions using their True Fit sliding scale. Tight in the arms and chest for muscles, and loose in the midsection. Just how Turbo Jack likes it. Get perfect fit every time. Get one you like in every color. Turbo Jack likes blue. But everybody has a price. And True Classics is super affordable. And for a limited time only, even more affordable. With 25% off and free shipping when you use Turbo Jack's promo code WrestleTalk at TrueClassic.com. That's WrestleTalk at checkout using the link below. True Classic. Anything but basic. Turbo Jack's getting real hot.
Okay, now we've heard from the sponsors and we cleansed your news palette with some non-CM Punk news. It is time for your main course of CM Punk news. It never ends. So following Wednesday's announcement of AEW Collision at the Warner Bros. Discovery upfront, the obvious omission of CM Punk stole all of the headlines. Even when he's not there, he's somehow there. While not announcing Punk could have initially just been perceived as AEW keeping that element of surprise, something was seemingly off about the whole thing. This was particularly due to the idea of Punk's name being basically synonymous with the show because of all the rumours, and I don't know, the whole reason it exists apparently. Oh yeah, and he was also mentioned in an email to Warner Bros. Discovery's press release ahead of time. However, this was swiftly removed, and Warner Bros. Discovery's statement on the matter was that Punk was not affiliated with the new show in any way, shape or form. Something fishy is going on here. Not you, Bobby Fish. However, Punk was reportedly set to be announced as the show's headliner, and according to Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer Radio, MJF's placement on the poster for Collision was a direct replacement for one Phillip Brooks. So why did it all go wrong, you might ask? Because CM Punk was involved, but also because, as mentioned in yesterday's news, it seemingly all once again comes down to the Robin to Punk's Batman, Ace Steel. While not confirmed to be the direct reason for Punk's last-minute clash with AEW, it does seem entirely possible. However, the drama seems to not be related to Steel being rehired by AEW, but simply rather his physical presence back backstage at AEW Collision TV events. Because according to Nick Hausman of House of Wrestling, Steele was actually brought back to AEW several months ago. However, he has strictly been working remotely ever since. Because you can't bite people over Zoom. Allegedly. Hausman stated that Steele has been involved with AEW's creative from afar, with his remote working done in order to not upset the talent. However, despite this, the general understanding from Punk's end at least was that when he returned for Collision, Steele would be joining him at TV. Although according to Fightful Select, AEW would then make clear to Punk during a meeting ahead of the Warner Bros. Discovery upfront that this would not be the case. So then, given the seeming collapse of these well laid out plans between Tony Khan, Warner Bros. Discovery and CM Punk, how are all the parties getting along? Actually, surprisingly, not too bad. Because despite PW Insider revealing that CM Punk and AEW were at odds, this was particularly due to the Ace Steel situation. As for Punk and Tony themselves, things apparently are all good. Because once again, according to Nick Hausman on the House of Wrestling podcast, Punk and Khan's relationship remains on sound footing, with open communication between the two still ongoing. Now, Punk is said to be on board with AEW and wanting to see the company continue to grow, but he's a little bit bros before grows sometimes. As for how Warner Bros. Discovery have taken the situation, well, they are reportedly still hopeful, as we all are, that this whole situation has a happy ending. Speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio regarding Warner Bros. Discovery's reaction, Meltzer said from the WBD side, because nobody from the AEW side has talked about this at all nor confirmed any of this, from the WBD side, they have said that their belief is that there will be an attempt to work it out. They're hopeful that they work it out, that it's not a dead deal. Speaking of working things out, the original source of all of this Punk mess was, of course, that all-out press conference and subsequent backstage fracas, which is a polite way of putting it. And while some legal boundaries still remain between the Punk side and the Elite, perhaps there remains hope that one day they can all just hug it out. That's if we read too much into these latest comments from Kenny Omega, that is, anyway, which we will be doing, because this is the WrestleTalk News, and what do we do but read too much into the comments? Following his touching reunion with Hangman Page on this week's Dynamite, Omega would deliver a post-show promo to the live crowd with some choice words on hashing things out with old enemies. See why we are reading into things. Omega said of the reunion with Page, "If there's one thing that this proves, Hangman, it's that bitter enemies, bitter rivals, men that once hated one another, can sit in a room, can sit in a ring, and hash it out for the greater good." And when I need some punky undertones there. Shame they're going to be on different shows. Anyway. And this leads us back onto the Punk show. AEW Collision, more particularly talking about its roster. While we have an idea of the names set to be featured on Collision due to the promotional materials that were released, a common thread may begin to become apparent if you look real closely. A lot of them are part of the CM Punk fan club. In fact, all of them. Okay, while that may be a stretch to say for all the names, according to Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, Collision is meant to be the Punk show. See, it's not just me calling it that. Meaning that the roster has guys who have a favourable opinion of Mr. Brooks, which obviously includes FTR and known Punk fan Powerhouse Hobbs. Not only that, but according to Meltzer, Punk also specifically wanted Andrade El Idolo as part of Collision, so he sort of gathered up all of the people who can't play well with others. What could possibly go wrong? Joking aside, it does very much seem that Collision and Dynamite are reportedly being used to keep certain people away from each other. Punk and FTR away from the Elite and Moxley, Thunder Rosa away from Britt Baker, Andrade away from Sammy Guevara, etc., etc. And while this seems like a sound strategy, I don't know, is it actually sustainable, or will building a wall between all of these rivals be just sort of a fruitless task? Because they're going to have to intermingle at the pay-per-views, aren't they? I don't know, let us know what you think in the comments down below. Sticking with Collision, and there has been an interesting new report from Fightful Select on the show's potential creative process. While Tony Khan is imagined to be this octopus-like creature who can run about 6 shows at once, it seems like he does occasionally let others chime in and help him out with creative. Actually, to be perfectly honest, quite a few people who help him out in reality. You got names such as Pat Buck, Dean Malenko, Sonjay Dutt, QT Marshall, and Will Washington, congrats again, Will, are said to have influence over AEW's creative. However, there may be another surprising name set to join that list for Collision, and that is none other than the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. Because according to Fightful sources, Danielson will be contributing to creative for AEW's new show, potentially undertaking a role similar to the one he previously held in WWE. Whilst in WWE, Danielson was reportedly also involved with creative to some degree, and according to Fightful sources, that's something that worked with Bryan and was a role he excelled at, with many people praising his demeanor when helping out. So I guess perhaps Danielson can be that calming influence that Collision needs. Or he's going to sit there smiling sickeningly while the fights break out. So with AEW forcing us to watch yet another night of wrestling a week starting from June the 17th, our weekly calendars now only have Thursday and Sunday as the only wrestling free... I've forgotten about Impact. So we've got there's pay-per-views on. We have no wrestling-free nights of the week. No more days off then. Thank you, Tony. But hey, maybe our Friday nights are set to open up again if these recent comments from WWE President Nick Khan are to be believed, because SmackDown could potentially be set for a switch. Speaking at Moffett-Nathanson's Technology, Media and Telecom conference, Khan would be non-committal on SmackDown's future on Fridays, particularly with their current deal with Fox expiring at the end of 2024. Noting that SmackDown has a history of swapping nights, Khan said, "So for us with Friday Night SmackDown, which by the way was on Thursdays prior to going to Fox, it was on Tuesdays prior to that, we can go to any night of the week. So for entities looking for, hey, we want to program certain nights of the week, we think we're attractive to them as well." So you admit it. You think I'm pretty. How do you think Wednesdays and Saturdays sound to Nick? Like, I'm sure Tony won't mind. Tony won't mind either of them. It'd be fine. Happy Friday, folks. We spoke earlier about the Elite reunion on Wednesday's Dynamite, and if you want to hear Ollie's thought on it, click the video on screen now for his review. Got to warm up? Buttercup, 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 buttercup. Ha 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 ha. And according to Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer Radio, MJF's I want chips. Chips, and I've spat on the desk.